This is the full indictment for Senator Robert Menendez from New Jersey. Full 39 pages. We'll go through it in detail. And as we read through it, something we can do and play along at home if you'd like, is to just swap the old name of Robert Menendez in for Joe Biden. And we have just one little additional interface here, which is Hunter, who is acting as the bag man, who is doing the deals on behalf of Daddy, but leveraging Daddy's power, right? Robert Menendez was exchanging his influence and his power for these things, just like Hunter and Joe were doing. So first, this is what the indictment looks like. Coming out of the Southern District of New York, sealed, now unsealed, against 5 defendants. Robert Menendez, U.S. Senator, Nadine Menendez, the wife, Whale Hannah, Jose Uribe, and Fred Dybes, all as defendants. The indictment, signed by Damian Williams, includes a bunch of photographs that we'll take a look at, and you can see here, entered in by the United States Attorney, Damian Williams himself. Here is what the indictment says. Robert Menendez is a senior U.S. Senator from New Jersey, and from 18 to 22, they engaged in a corrupt relationship with the 3 other co-defendants. In this case, Menendez and Nadine, his wife, agreed and did accept hundreds of thousands of dollars, which is like peanuts, man. That's like tip money. Man, Hunter doesn't even get out of bed for that. In exchange for Menendez's power and influence as a senator to protect and enrich the other businessmen, all to benefit Egypt. Those bribes included cash, gold, payments towards a home mortgage, compensation for basically no jobs, a luxury vehicle, and other things. And if you're a Biden, you get cars, you get diamonds, you get really, really low or no-show jobs, like real $83,000 a month for Burisma. Are you kidding me? For what? Nothing? They said he was a moron. This corrupt relationship resulted in Menendez, the defendant, promising to take a series of official acts. You're kidding. Huh. I wonder, like what, firing prosecutors? And breaches of official duty in exchange for bribes that benefited both him and his wife. He promised to use his influence and power. That's the problem, right? You can't do that, man. You've got to have your wife do that, or you've got to have your son do that, idiot. And power and other things. He would say, I would breach his official duty to benefit Egypt. Others who were Egypt American businessmen, they got sensitive U.S. government information and they took other steps to secretly Egypt. Okay, so this guy is turning over. Were these classified documents? Oh my gosh, I don't know. Here, Menendez, are they saying that he did something that they're alleging Trump did for which there is no evidence? Like he actually handed stuff over to a foreign country? Remember, we heard 24/7 Trump did something with Saudi Arabia or something, all made up. Menendez also improperly advised and pressured a Department of Agriculture person to protect a business monopoly, and he used, in part, the business monopoly was granted to this guy and made a bunch of money and then paid Menendez back that money. And this time he was smart. He used his wife. The money went back through Nadine. Second, Menendez promised, you know, what's amazing about this is like they know this happened. See how easy it is for them to connect the dots? This is not rocket science. They know that Nadine got paid on behalf of the senator, just like they know that Hunter got paid on behalf of Biden. It's not complicated. It's not rocket science, okay? Every time these morons on MSNBC say there's no evidence, it's the same thing. It's just paint by numbers. It's not hard to be a prosecutor, okay? They, inflate their egos in their podiums all the time, but it's really not that hard. Second, Menendez promised and did use his influence and power to breach his official duty to disrupt a criminal investigation and a prosecution from an AG's office. And this is a senior senator. So the idea that this is like an aberration, I guarantee you he's not alone. Third, Menendez promised to and did use his influence to breach his official duty to recommend that the president nominate someone to the U.S. Attorney's office. So he wanted to appoint a different prosecutor so that he could deviate the prosecution of this guy. Do you see how corrupt this is? And Menendez is the same guy who will come out on the national news, he'll come out in the halls of Congress, and he'll lecture everybody else for being corrupt. He'll lecture Donald Trump for being an insurrectionist and all this stuff. He'll say there's no double standards in our justice system. Literally trying to get a different prosecutor appointed to save his friend. In or about June 22nd, federal agents executed search warrants on the home and the safe deposit box. Unlike with Hunter, they got warned about their storage unit and about their overt interviews. Now, in conducting these court-authorized searches, which weren't ever approved for Hunter, agents found certain fruits of Menendez and his wife's corrupt bribery agreement. They found cash, gold, luxury vehicles, and home furnishings. Over 480 grand in cash. Much of it stuffed into envelopes and hidden in clothing and closets and a safe. Man, I wonder if we would have found anything like that in Hunter's storage box. But instead, what Hunter did is got that removed and then also wrapped up his cash in LLCs, probably in foreign banks. Now, when they raided Menendez's house, it was discovered along along with $70,000 in Menendez's safe deposit box. And you're allowed to have cash. That alone's not a problem. Some of the envelopes, though, contain fingerprints and DNA of Diebes, the guy who's under prosecution. That's the problem. Other envelopes were found inside jackets bearing Menendez's name and hanging in his closet, as depicted below. Yikes. So these are troubling photos. Robert Menendez, Congressional Hispanic Caucus. $2,900 here. Those are 50s, small bills. He put those over into 20s over here. $1,400, what that looks like. So a little smaller stack there. But Robert Menendez, Hispanic Congressional Caucus. Yeah, not a really good photograph for the senator. Here's another one. Senator Menendez here, big stack of cash sprawled out over this one. These are the Benjamins, all right? This is what you want to see in your corruption, right? What's he going to do here? What are you bringing me 20s and 50s for? Okay, get out of here. Hundreds, man, if you're a senator. Millions if you are a vice president or president. So Senator Menendez, more cash right there. And pretty incredible that he would just put them in the pockets of his Senate jackets. Almost like kind of sociopathic, you know? It's like you're a senator supposed to be representing, it would be like a police officer is a murderer kind of a thing. I know there's Dexter in that show and stuff like that, but you get it. You're supposed to be protecting the people, not being a corrupt bureaucrat. And he stuffs them back in his Senate jackets because it's just like evil opening in plain sight, operating in full view, right? It's one of those things. So during the same court-authorized search of the home, agents also found home furnishings that were provided by the other bribers. The luxury vehicle paid for by Uribe, another briber, was in the garage, as well as over $100,000 worth of gold bars in the home, which were provided by them. 2 of the gold bars provided are depicted in the photographs below. So you're not supposed to be just taking gold bars home. Hello? I imagine Chuck Schumer is scolding him for this right now. We told you don't take cash. He's like, I know, but I didn't take cash. I took gold. Gold's the same thing. It's even harder to, to do something with. Idiot. We told you don't do that. How could you be so stupid? I know. How much other gold do you have? Where are they located? Tell me so we can go tell the FBI to get rounded up. So here's 2 kilos of gold. Swiss Bank Corporation. And this one is from something else a little harder to read. Precious metal company. Both entered in and they just threw it at Menendez. So he's like, whoa. So Menendez, the defendant, as we know, is a senior U.S. senator from New Jersey, the chairman of the Foreign Relations Committee in the Senate, which is insanely powerful. He served as the mayor, served in the state legislature, was appointed in the Senate, subsequently re-elected 2012, 2018. Leadership position. The chairman of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee was the ranking member and then the chairman. And therefore, he possessed a lot of influence over a bunch of things, like the executive branch's decisions to provide foreign military sales, foreign military financing, other aid or support to benefit the government of Egypt. Now, do you see how insane this is? Like, this guy got prosecuted already, re-elected, and they just put him back on to the committee. By virtue of his position as a senior U.S. senator from New Jersey, he had the ability to recommend to the president that a certain person be nominated to serve as the prosecutor in New Jersey. Now, at the time of this indictment, they said that they cannot do that stuff, as we read through previously. Nadine began dating the defendant, Robert Menendez, in early February 2018, after the first indictment. They became engaged and got married in 2020, October. Oh, a COVID wedding. Beautiful. Before Nadine Menendez began dating, she was unemployed. Well, that's of course, it sounds kind of like Hunter was. But now, after Joe Biden needed him to be the bag man, just like Menendez needed a bag woman in Nadine, although he botched this, he didn't delegate enough to her. He kind of played in both pools. Hunter had a much further removal, and he did have some employment background as a lawyer, but mostly a professional crackhead, in and out of treatment centers most of his life. And then once daddy was vice president, then he got a very nice job, 83 grand a month at Burisma. So you see how both bagmen can be elevated. Also now, by the way, Hunter's an artist also. So now he's not unemployed again, okay? He's not working for Burisma, obviously that's corrupt, but now he sells paintings. The 3 New Jersey businessmen, we know their names. They're originally, this guy's from Egypt, maintains close connections to Egyptian officials. And Nadine and Hannah were friends for many years before she started dating Robert Menendez. That's curious. Menendez. So where did Nadine Menendez just come from? So this woman pops up, unemployed, marries this dude, then starts grifting for her friends from Egypt. Very curious. A court-authorized search in or about November 2019 of a cell phone of Hannah revealed thousands of text messages between Hannah and Nadine Menendez, many of which Nadine deleted from her own cell phone. So Jose, the defendant, is also a businessman, lives in New Jersey, trucking insurance business, also previously convicted of fraud. He's a business associate of Will Hannah, another defendant, and they've got relationships as well. And Fred Dybes, the man whose DNA was found on the cash, founder of a New Jersey bank and business associate of Will Hannah. Dybes as well. Dybes was charged by the U.S. Attorney's Office with obtaining loans under false pretenses, and he's been a longtime fundraiser for Robert Menendez. So then we see, after Menendez was already indicted, already went through that first trial, wrapped that up, they say that in or about early 2018, they put him back on the Intelligence Committee. Nadine, formerly known as Nadine Arslanian, informed Will Hannah that she was dating Robert Menendez, the defendant. Wow. So they're dating, and she's like, hey, check this out. I'm dating a U.S. senator. You're not going to believe it. In the following months and years, Hannah and Nadine Menendez worked to introduce Egyptian intelligence and military officials to Menendez for the purpose of establishing and solidifying a corrupt agreement in which Hannah, with the assistance from Fred and Jose, provided hundreds of thousands of bucks to Menendez and Nadine in exchange for Menendez, the Senators Act, and breaches of duty to benefit Egypt. Wow. All of it related to foreign military sales, foreign military financing. Big military money, man. Big donos. Can you believe that? So this woman, like, where did she come from? Nadine Arslanian. She slides in there, slides into his DMs. Hey, Senator, looking good out there on the Senate floor. What's up, baby? So he's like, oh my gosh, a woman's talking to me. This is incredible. So he goes and they go out to dinner. Next thing you know, he's indicted. Boom. That escalated quickly. So she is bringing him now corrupt deals from Egyptian people, texting her friends right after the first date. At all times relevant to this indictment, this is not an excuse in any way, shape, or form, okay? Menendez is like prime for this. He's like a ripe target. If you're going to target a senator, how about the guy who got indicted the last time? Egypt was among the largest recipients in the world of U.S. military aid. Back then, what was it? What was it? Like a fourth of what we're giving to Ukraine? Give me a break. All right. It's probably cute. Yeah, probably cute. Between 2018 and 2022, the U.S. government supplied substantial military aid to Egypt, including in the form of over $1 billion per year. $1 billion a year? What we did like what, 100 billion, I think, in the last year. Okay, so yeah, not even close. In the form of direct, so my point is talking about corruption, right? About corruption. We're talking about Biden and corruption. Hunter and Burisma, Hunter and Ukraine, Biden and Ukraine. This guy, this senator, this lowly New Jersey senator is in charge of maybe $1 billion per year to Egypt. He can, maneuver that. Joe's got $100+ billion, probably it'll be $1 trillion by the time we're done with this stupid war. They say the U.S. Department of State played a central role in reviewing and approving military sales to Egypt. As a matter of voluntary practice, the State Department would honor so-called holds placed by the chairman or the ranking member on foreign financing. What? So the senator has leverage over money going from the U.S. to Egypt. That sounds really familiar to me. Almost like the vice president having leverage over money that went to Ukraine. Weird. What are all these coincidences doing here? In other words, the State Department would typically not proceed with a transfer of money without the chairman signing off on it. Menendez had substantial influence over the financing to Egypt. Now, for at least several years prior to 2018, despite its strategically important relationship with the Middle East and the United States, Egypt has often faced resistance in obtaining foreign money. For example, August 2017, the State Department announced we're withholding $195 million in foreign military financing. Now, August 2017, that's Trump, until Egypt demonstrates improvement, and that they were canceling another 65. By in or about early 2018, multiple U.S. senators has raised human rights or rule of law objections, and no foreign military sales or offensive equipment requiring congressional notification had been concluded since March 2016. It's like, okay, so apparently they're trying to make the point that the money was going or cut off. Here, now, the money was diminishing, right? So in or about 2018, shortly after Robert and Nadine began dating, money spigots are off, Trump comes in, no more foreign aid, American first, get your own money. Nadine Menendez arranged a series of meetings and dinners with Menendez, paid for by Hanna and his associates. And Egyptian officials raised, among other things, requests related to foreign military sales and foreign military financing. Weird. Nadine sets up a dinner, Senator Menendez shows up. Sounds very much like Hunter sets up a dinner, Joe Biden shows up. They talk about stuff. Now, we know in this case exactly what they talked about. For some reason, our FBI and our IRS and our DOJ, they don't really want to inquire as to what Joe Biden was talking about during his dinners, but they know exactly what Menendez said during his dinners. In exchange for Menendez and Nadine's promise that Menendez would, among other things, facilitate financing to Egypt, they said they'd put Nadine on the payroll of his company. Huh? Like what? Like Burisma? Did she work for Burisma? So in March 2018, Menendez met with an Egyptian military official and other Egyptian military officials at meetings attended by his girlfriend, Nadine, just like Joe showing up to dinners with Hunter. Menendez allowed Nadine Menendez and Hanna to participate in this meeting. It took place in his Senate office in Washington, D.C., just like the meetings that took place in Joe Biden's vice president residence, and included discussions of military financing, among other topics. They met again with Hanna, both husband and wife, in May. Later that same day in May, Menendez sought from the State Department non-public information about a number of people serving in the embassies. Although this information was not classified, there you go, it was deemed highly sensitive because it could pose operational security concerns. Without telling his staff or the State Department he was doing so, Menendez texted the info to his girlfriend. Hey baby, what's up? How's your day? Just FYI, a number of Americans, a combination of diplomats, commercial service, USAID, a number, 20 Egyptians, locally employed staff. This is what at America's embassy. 1 to 2, let's say, or the ratio. 1 to 2 is the ratio of Egyptians working at the embassy. What on earth? Why is he sending sensitive information about U.S. personnel to his girlfriend? And she's sending that back over to the Egyptians? She forwarded it back over to Hanna, who forwarded it to the Egyptian government. So the same day, same month, Hanna hosted another dinner at a high-end restaurant, brought her senator husband. Senator disclosed to Hanna non-public information about military aid to Egypt. Shortly after the dinner, Hanna, so it goes, Nadine invites the senator, senator talks to Hanna, Hanna talks to the Egyptian individual. Egyptian says to the government, the ban on small arms and ammunition to Egypt has been lifted. That means sales can begin. That will include sniper rifles, among other articles. So it's an arms deal, right? These are arms transactions going on. Now, later that month, Nadine conveyed to Menendez another request from an Egyptian official in seeking and editing a letter in support of U.S. aid to Egypt. They explained that she wanted Menendez to prepare a letter. This Nadine really is pulling the strings on this guy. Says, hey, can you prepare this letter, baby? To prepare the letter because Hanna and an Egyptian official, who she referred to as the general in her communications with Menendez, Nadine is talking to an Egyptian official she calls the general. What is going on? Had gotten Nadine Menendez clearance for a project. This doesn't feel like just a regular old bribery scam. In response, Menendez secretly edited and ghost wrote the requested letter on behalf of Egypt, seeking to convince other U.S. senators to release a hold on $300 million in aid to Egypt. $300 million. Menendez sent this ghost-written letter to Nadine from his personal email account because he knew that was a big no-no. Nadine Menendez forwarded the ghost letter to Hanna, and Hanna conveyed the draft back to the Egyptians. Both Menendez and Nadine deleted the email in which Nadine asked Menendez to write this letter. Busted! So they say, okay, look, hey, Senator, what's it going to take for you to lift $300 million in aid? He says, well, I got to convince my colleagues to do it. Well, what are your colleagues going to want to hear? I don't know what to say to them. I've never written a letter to a bunch of senators before. I'm a little nervous. Senator, you're a senator. I think you can help me out with this one? Yeah, I can. I'm not supposed to do that to tell you what to say to us, but I guess I'll do it. And he did it. In July 2018, Menendez, the senator, met again with an Egyptian official and other Egyptian military officials to discuss the financing and the foreign military sales. It's crazy that he actually met with them. I mean, the guy is just operating with more bravado than you can imagine, or this this type of behavior is kind of like tacitly endorsed, you know? Like, you're kind of just like, okay, maybe this is just what senators do. It's what senators do until they're no longer useful anymore, and then they get indicted. So Nadine here and Whale, this guy's a senator on the Foreign Relations Committee. In advance of that meeting, the Egyptian government, through Hannah and Nadine, provided to Menendez briefing materials advocating Egyptian foreign policy goals and positions and setting forth Egypt's request for the approval of foreign military. The next day after the meeting, Menendez sends a text to his girlfriend, or maybe wife at the time. He says, "Tell Will, Hannah, I am going to sign off this sale to Egypt today. Egypt, 46,120 millimeter target practice rounds and 10,000 rounds of tank ammunition. $99 million total. Tell Will, the Egyptian asset who is providing information back to Egypt, I'm going to sign off on this sale today. Note, these tank rounds are for tanks they have had for many years. They are using these in the Sinai for counterterrorism campaign." So Nadine, his love, forwarded the text to Hannah, who forwarded it over to Egypt. Egypt official 1 replied, "Thumbs up." Whoa, 99 million. Thanks, Senator. Now something happens. They say Menendez takes action to protect ISEG Halal. At some point, something goes a little askew here. Now, Hannah repeatedly promised Nadine, the wife, payments, including a low or no-show job at ISEG Certified, a New Jersey company that Hannah operated with financial backing from Davies, the bank guy, the defendant in furtherance of the scheme. However, Halal had no revenue between 2018 and 2019, and Hannah did not deliver on his promise to make those payments over to Nadine. Oh, she's got to be unhappy about that. Now, after several months of non-payment following the initial meeting, Nadine complained to multiple associates of Hannah. "He's not paying me." And she said she caused at least one of them. She says, "Hey, if I don't get paid soon, the senator is going to cease acting on your behalf, and there's going to be a big problem." Now, this is where she's already done for it, okay? Once they have you, you can't stop doing it. What, are you going to stop doing it? You're going to get busted. So we're going to cease acting for Hannah's benefit, including with respect to Egypt, unless Hannah came through on his promises and paid her. Complained directly to the senator as well, writing, "Senator, hey baby, my day's been so frustrating. I have been so upset all morning. Will, Hannah, left for Egypt yesterday supposedly, and now thinks he's king of the world and has both countries wrapped around his pinky. I really hope they replace him." Of course, you idiot. Oh my gosh. He is an asset who's being conducted by a foreign operation. Of course he's got you wrapped around his finger. He's got you doing criminal actions for him. Not to pay you anything. Hannah obtains a lucrative monopoly then. So now something changes. So in or about spring 2019, Egypt granted Halal an exclusive monopoly. So the asset is saying, hey, one of my assets is really having a big problem. Okay, she wants money. Well, how can we pay her? We can't just give her cash. So let's set up our fake company that doesn't have any money, not churning any goods. Let's just give them an exclusive monopoly on the certification of U.S. food exports to Egypt as compliant with halal standards, despite the fact that Hannah or his company, none of them, had experience with halal certification. And this is exactly like Hunter, who has zero experience with oil and gas. Isn't that right? So they all just create these shell companies and they use foreign money to now give this company exclusive monopoly to label foods, right? It's just certification. It's just a certification. All it is paperwork. So all they need to do is just stamp off on this certified, certified, certified. That'll be 10%, 10%, 10%, right? So they can grift a ton of money into this entity that is controlled by the government of Egypt based on the permissions of certification, so that Egypt says, we only accept it from you guys. And then that starts sending cash flow into that business, which they can then repurpose over to Nadine, the senator's wife. Prior to this action, a number of other U.S. companies had already been licensed to certify the meat exports to Egypt. The monopoly allowed Nadine to get paid. An Egyptian government official informed Hannah that the halal was likely to become Egypt's sole certifier. And the next day, Nadine, who apparently they must have given her shares of, right? She got a portion of the company. She says to her senator boyfriend, hey, seems like halal went through. It might be a fantastic 2019 all the way around. My new company has exclusive rights to the entire country of Egypt because they're authorizing bribes to the tune of hundreds of millions of dollars in arms deals back over to Egypt. So then Nadine gets smart. She's like, all right, how are all these people concocting their scams? She should have called Hunter Biden. She wouldn't have maybe gotten caught, but she instead forms an LLC to receive the bribe payments. So in or about June 2019, after Halal obtains the monopoly, she then forms a company. She becomes a consultant too, just like Hunter. Strategic International Business Consultants. That name's terrible, all right? That's obvious. That sticks out like a sore thumb. Strategic International Business Consultants. If you're a forensic accountant or somebody, you're like, that's illegal. That's definitely illegal, right? Because it's totally made up. First of all, she's got no experience doing any of that stuff, but neither does Hunter. But Hunter at least kept it vague, like Rosemont Bohai Harvest. What the heck is that? It's just a bunch of weird people making a company. Who cares? This is clearly fake. She should have called Hunter, man. He knows how to do this stuff. So she also formed that LLC. The dumb senator helped her with this. He didn't know better. The company was used to receive bribe payments in furtherance of the crimes charged. When sending a relative information about the formation of her company, she tells her, her sister, a text message. She says, every time I'm a middle person for a deal, I'm asking to get paid. And this is my consulting company. Sis says, oh, what'd you do today? I formed an LLC. What for? Well, I'm a middle person. I asked to get paid. And this is my consulting company to do it. Oh, that sounds fun. Good luck. So then Menendez now intervenes. Something goes awry. So the halal monopoly, which just certifies meat, the scheme, among other things, provided a revenue stream for Hannah. Then he could just keep funneling the bribes over to Menendez. The monopoly also resulted in increased costs for various U.S. meat suppliers and others. They say, we've already got our halal certifier, okay? What do we have to go through you guys for? As a result, this is where they got a little bit askew. As a result, in or about May 2019, multiple U.S. government officials from the Department of Agriculture contacted Egypt and they said, hey, okay, all the other senators who represent the farmers, right, in our agriculture industry, they're saying they're getting a bunch of complaints. They're saying, hey, our guys were sending their meat for certification over to this company and now we can't do it. They're all going to one company, right? The whole country is now complaining about this. And these idiots think they've got this whole thing wrapped up. She's like, it's going to be a great year. Halal. So they now seek a reconsideration. They're telling Egypt, you guys can't do this. And the USDA, which is a giant entity, prepared a public report about the increased cost of certification for the meat and likely disruption for the market caused by the new monopoly. All right. So they bit off a little bit more they can chew there. Yikes. So then Rob Menendez and Nadine and the others, they meet with Egypt in the Senate. During the meeting, they discussed a human rights matter that was affecting aid. In the same meeting, Hannah requested Menendez assistance. He says, hey, the USDA is breathing down our neck about this new monopoly that we're using to bribe you with. Can you do anything about it? He says, I can't talk about that here. We're talking about human rights here today, right? Let's talk later at a steakhouse in Washington. Over the next 2 days, Will, Hannah, and the defendant gave Nadine a variety of materials about the USDA's objection, and she texted those materials to the senator. He later deleted them, okay? So USDA is complaining to Egypt. Egypt sends the letters over to Menendez. Menendez says, let me see what I can do to work on that. So the defendant then, the senator, he says, I can help. He calls a high-level USDA official, and he insisted in sum and substance that the USDA stop opposing their monopoly status. Leave them alone. I'm a senator. I know what's best for this country. Your certifiers are garbage, okay? ISEG halal is the best. When official one attempted to explain why the monopoly was detrimental, he's like, hey, dum-dum, it's going to wreck the whole industry. Menendez said, I don't care. He reiterated his demand. He says, stop interfering with their monopoly. So the official said, I'm not doing that. He did not accede to Menendez's demand, but halal nevertheless kept its monopoly. This whole thing is derailed over halal. After financially benefiting from the monopoly status as the sole certifier, Will, Hannah, at times, and with the assistance of Dibes and Uribe, other defendants continued to provide payments. They wanted to continue the scheme. July 2019, Nadine had a problem. A mortgage company initiated foreclosure proceedings. So Halal paid 23 grand to bring the mortgage current. He made this payment following a series of discussions with Nadine about options. Hey, what can we do to bring your mortgage current? And, I would believe that these people are well aware of all of this, right? They've got money to spare from the Egyptian government, but they're keeping these people, her particularly, on the hook. We can help you with that. How can we bring your mortgage current? At one point, Uribe responded to Nadine. He said, Hannah might balk at the amount. He said, well, we can ask him to do it. It's not, it's $23,000 for a country that's embezzling or, getting gifted hundreds of millions of dollars is nothing, but they got to keep these people in pocket. So Nadine said, they said, hey, let's see if Will can pay some of this money off. She says, well, when I feel comfortable and plan the trip to Egypt, Hannah will be more president than the president of Egypt. He will be more powerful than the president of Egypt. Okay, so they're freaked out about this guy. Thereafter, Uribe and Hannah worked to facilitate payments, and Menendez continued to take actions to assist Hannah and Egypt. A few months later, in September 2019, Nadine texted Fred complaining. He says, I still haven't been paid money. He responded. He said, Nadine, I personally gave Bob a check for September, meaning I'm presuming that's Bob Menendez, the senator, Robert. Several days later, Nadine texted Robert Menendez. She said, hey, Senator, baby, I am so upset, with multiple O's, stating Hannah had not left her an envelope. Will's not paying me. She said, hey, Senator, I thought Dibees would make sure it's there, and the second day in a row and there's nothing. My money's not there. She said, I also thought after everything that happened, especially last Saturday that week, referring to the meetings that the senator had with Egyptian officials, that at least he would honor his word one time. I don't know if I should text Fred or wait. What should I do, honey? Senator says, no, you should not text or email, okay? Get your mind right. Soon thereafter, Nadine called Dibees. Oh, she couldn't wait. Senator told her, don't call, don't text. She calls. ISEG Halal then issued a $10,000 check to Strategic International Business Consultants, the fake LLC, the next day. In total, Halal issued three $10,000 checks to the consulting company, which Dibees helped to provide or facilitate. This is peanuts, man. This is nothing. Hunter knows how to really squeeze you. $10,000. So Hunter knows how to get $83,000 a month. And other people, this is very similar to Hunter's type of conduct, right? Z, if you don't send my money right now, I am sitting here with my daddy, and my daddy, Lord knows, you and I know, between me and the maker and all the things, there's going to be hell to pay if you don't send me my money now. Same thing's going on right here, okay? Hunter's doing it. Hunter was leveraging his dad. Here, Nadine's doing it. Nadine's leveraging the senator. They're all doing money transactions for influence. It's the same story. So then Hannah and Dibees, they seek action from the senator. During the same period when Nadine was getting paid money, somebody else from Egypt texted Will. They said, Will, a State Department employee, told Egypt today that Senator Menendez put a hold on $1 billion of U.S. aid to Egypt before the recess. Is this true? 4 exclamation points. Did Menendez withhold $1 billion of foreign aid? Do we know anybody else who threatened to withhold $1 billion of foreign aid here? Oh yeah, Joe did. Hannah responded to the official. He says, oh my gosh, let me ask. He then tries to contact Nadine. Several minutes later, Hannah calls Fred, calls him via an encrypted messaging program, forwarded the text message to Dibees. Said, everybody's freaking out. Did they cut off $1 billion before recess? So Dibees then calls the senator, and then Dibees called Hannah back via the same encrypted messaging program. Less than 2 minutes later, Hannah texted the Egyptian official, writing that it was not true and that he, Menendez, did not know anything about the hold on the U.S. aid to Egypt. You see how quickly you can get a senator on the phone if you know how to do it? Man, it's easy. You just got to be bribing his girlfriend and him. And then if there's a question, he's on the phone 2 minutes. Also, September 2019, the senator offered to provide his assistance during an official trip to India, says at a dinner, another dinner. Nadine was there, texted Egypt, says, our man Menendez, Nadine, his girlfriend, wife, says, our man is traveling to India after 2 weeks. He is asking if there is any message we need or anything for ISEG. Later that month, they all met in Manhattan with Egypt. Menendez, Hannah, Fred, and others. And Hunter has had many dinners with Joe Biden and other people. The meetings between Menendez and Nadine and the Egypt officials and the receipts of things that they got in exchange were made in exchange for actions promised to be favorable to Egypt. Here's a couple examples. March 2020, Nadine sent an Egyptian official the following text. Hey, Egypt, anytime you need anything, you have my number and we'll make everything happen. A few days later, she arranged for Menendez to meet with him, and Nadine referred to him as the general about negotiations between Egypt, Ethiopia, Sudan. Often these were the most important foreign policy issues for Egypt. Within 1 month of those meetings, in April 2020, Menendez wrote a letter to the Secretary of Treasury and the Secretary of State regarding the dam, which was needing to be built near the Nile River. He said, I'm writing to express my concern about the stalled negotiations between Egypt and Ethiopia over the dam. I therefore urge you to significantly increase the State Department's negotiations about the dam. Right? He meets with Egypt. They say, this is what we need. He sends a letter. October 2020, they met with another official in New Jersey at a restaurant. They then began texting each other and had additional in-person meetings. In early 2021, Halal got Hannah used the Halal funds and got the senator some exercise equipment, which is good. They could use it. 2 different exercise machines and an air purifier, among other things, collectively worth thousands of dollars to be purchased online and delivered to the Menendezes. On or about, they can exercise together, get in shape. Yeah. yeah. Egypt, democracy, senators, yeah. On or about June 21st, Nadine Menendez and another Egyptian official, number 4, they organized a private meeting between the senator and, look at this, here, the intelligence official enters the game. This dude's been operating behind the scenes the entire time. Now, we're in June 2021. This thing's getting a little bit spicy now. We've gone through all the years, all the way back to 2018. Senior Egyptian official enters the game. A hotel in D.C. prior to the meeting between Egyptian official 5 and the U.S. senators the next day. On the day of the private meeting, so apparently this official was scheduled to meet with other senators the next day, but met with Menendez first. On the day of the private meeting, Menendez provided his girlfriend with a copy of a news article reporting on questions that other U.S. senators wanted to ask the Egyptian official about this human rights stuff. Nadine then sent the article to Egyptian official number 4, who says, thanks so much. Says Menendez, the senator, also raised it today. The chairman of the Council on Foreign Relations Committee. The next day, Nadine texted the Egyptian official. She said, I thought it'd be better to know ahead of time what is being talked about. That way you guys can prepare your rebuttals. They're like, thanks. The senator already sent us the article. Okay, thanks for your help. On or about June 21st, 2 days after the private meeting between the senator and Egypt, Hannah purchased 22 1-ounce gold bars, each with a unique serial number. 2 of the gold bars were subsequently found during a court-authorized search in June 2022 of Menendez and Nadine's residence. They didn't get warned to move their gold bars. Leslie Wolf didn't contact their attorneys and tell them to pack it up and get it out of there. During the relevant time periods, spot market price of gold was about $1,800 per ounce. So they say, in or about the fall of 2021, Menendez, Nadine, communicated directly with an Egyptian official to arrange a trip for the senator that they took over to Egypt in October 2021. The trip originally was an unofficial visit and therefore no supervision from the State Department. The senator was just going over there on his own. When a committee on the Foreign Relations Committee staffer, somebody on his team, contacted the embassy in Cairo about the trip, causing the planned trip to become a formal congressional delegation under the State Department, Egyptian official 4 freaked out. So it sounds like Menendez tells his staff, hey, I'm going to go to Egypt with my girlfriend. Can you get something planned? So the staffer says, no problem. Contacts the embassy in Cairo. The whole thing became formal. Egyptian official number 4 goes, he texts Nadine, I will probably lose my job, SOS. I will probably lose my job, SOS. Like, they know you're coming, okay? They can't know you're coming. You cannot come. The State Department cannot know about this. I'm going to lose my job. Loose, meaning lose. Help. Nadine forwards this to Menendez. Hannah was also in Egypt during Menendez's and their trip, and they met at least once for dinner while there. During the trip, Menendez and Nadine also met with multiple Egyptian officials, including for a private dinner at the home of the Egyptian official number 5, a photo here below. And we're familiar with these types of photos. Okay, this is the senator. This is presumably his wife, Nadine, both corrupt criminals, allegedly. And then these are the 2 Egyptian officials. Don't know who they are. But you may remember that we've seen photos like this before. In fact, here was one of them. This was the photo of Joe Biden, and these were 2 Kazakhstani officials, and they were doing the exact same things that we're talking about here. A new photograph emerged of Joe Biden posing with Hunter, and these people called Kenz Rakishev, a Kazakh oligarch who reportedly worked with the former vice president and his scandal-scarred son with Hunter. The snap was published on an anti-corruption website, details Hunter Biden's overseas business dealings. In the undated photo, the Kazakhstani Initiative on Asset Recovery, the former vice president can be seen smiling with Kazakhstan's former prime minister and his son, who's flanked by Rakishev. A Daily Mail report detailed Hunter worked with Rakishev, dined regularly with Kazakh businessman, and attempted to facilitate investment in cash in New York, in DC, in Nevada, in mining companies, not halal companies, mining companies. But Rakishev has been closely tied to former klepto presidents, and it is the same grift, right? It's the same story. So that photograph is our president and his son. This photograph is of the senator and his wife. Same gimmick. In or about January 2022, Menendez and Nadine sent Nadine a link to a news article reporting on 2 pending foreign military sales to Egypt totaling $2.5 billion. He says, yo, baby, check this out. They're talking about $2.5 billion to Egypt. We can get loaded off that. Nadine forwarded this link to Hannah. She said, Bob had to sign off on this, okay, just so you know, $2.5 billion's coming your way, according to Bob. In exchange for the promises and the acts, the Menendezes, they got multiple things of value. Hundreds of thousands of dollars in checks, cash, and gold. During a court-authorized search of the residence, course, they found a bunch of it. But Nadine caused some of the gold to be sold in Manhattan prior to the search, and she transferred it into cash into bank accounts. Now, in or about 2019, Menendez agrees to disrupt criminal investigations, and he got paid a Mercedes for that. Hope it was worth it. In 2019, Will and Jose offered to help buy a new Mercedes-Benz C300 convertible worth more than $60,000 for Nadine Menendez. In exchange, they said, well, we need help. We need you to interfere with a criminal prosecution of one of our friends. It's being brought at a state level, and we need your help. So they said, perfect. We love helping you. Thank you for the car. The senator, literally a United States senator, contacted a senior state prosecutor in the office of the New Jersey Attorney General who supervised the prosecution. The U.S. senator calls a state-level prosecutor asking about this in an attempt through advice and pressure to cause them to resolve the matters favorably to the New Jersey defendant. This attorney, this prosecutor, obviously considered the Menendez actions inappropriate and did not agree to intervene. This prosecutor says, are you nuts? I am not going to be doing that. This phone call alone is inappropriate. How dare you even call me to ask such a thing? I'm sure the prosecutor didn't quite say that, but you get the gist. The first matter that Menendez tried to influence involved a New Jersey defendant, an associate of Jose. He was charged with insurance fraud relating to a trucking company. Nadine was involved in a car accident. Oh, hang on. Let me back up. Here, Uribe was implicated in the conduct, saying that the deal, the exchange for this car, for this deal, the deal is to kill and to stop all of the investigation. Weird. So, U.S. Senator was involved in stopping an investigation of a business person. Have we seen that before? Oh, yeah. Joe is brought in to kill the prosecution of Burisma by Victor Shokin. Same thing. Nadine Menendez was involved in a car accident in December, left her without a car. On multiple occasions, she was complaining about this, Nadine, telling Will, I don't have a car. It's so hard to get around without a car. I keep having to take Uber. Can you come pick me up? Oh. Beginning in or about January 2019, they agreed that Menendez would try to help Official 2, intervene with Official 2 to influence another defendant, literally in exchange for a car. Nadine invited Hannah to a dinner. The senator was there. Uribe could not attend. He had a scheduling conflict. But after the dinner, there was a series of text messages about that defendant. Guess who deleted those texts? Nadine did. Then in January 2019, 2 days after the dinner, Menendez makes good. He says, another car for just a phone call? Sure, I can do that. So the senator calls another official, another prosecutor just doing their job, and spoke with him in an attempt through advice and pressure to cause a resolution of the case in this defendant's favor. In preparation for the call, Menendez requested and received multiple text messages from Nadine, including the charges he was facing and how to handle it. Now, tell me more about this guy. What do I need to know before I call this prosecutor? Both subsequently deleted these text messages because they knew what they were doing was unethical and illegal. After being contacted by Menendez to avoid any appropriate influence in the case, Official 2 did not share with the prosecution team that Menendez had contacted them about the matter and did not intervene in the matter. Nonetheless, the New Jersey defendant resolved his criminal prosecution with a guilty plea pursuant to a plea agreement that recommended a non-prison deal. The resolution was more favorable for the defendant than the initial plea offer earlier in the case. Wow. So that deal got better. They don't know if it's exactly because of that call. The prosecutor didn't tell the team, but he got a better deal. So we don't know who he called. Okay, he might have called somebody else. So then the luxury car gets delivered. After the phone call, the car shows up. Only a few days after the call to the official, Nadine texted Hannah, all is great! Exclamation. I'm so excited to get a car next week. Yay! After some delays, ultimately the car was completed. On March 12, 2019, Nadine called Uribe. They talked on the phone for 21 minutes. After the call, Nadine says, I am real. I will stand by my word, whatever that means. March 27th, Uribe texts Nadine. He says, over the next several days, here's the information for the Mercedes dealership. Talk to this sales guy. Once Nadine was at the dealership, Nadine sent the senators photos of 2 different cars to get his input. Hey, honey, hope you're having a great job being a corrupt senator at the Capitol. What color car do you like? Of course, you made the phone call. You made this happen, baby. What color do you think is good? Nadine then texted a Mercedes car dealership. She's going to go to the dealership to pick up the car. Later, Uribe texted another associate a message roughly translated from Spanish. Says, I did everything on this side. I need $15K cash this afternoon. Later that day, Nadine Menendez texted Uribe, you're a miracle worker, Uribe, who makes dreams come true. I will always remember that. Thank you for my new car. On or about April 14th, Nadine Nadine left the senators a voicemail saying, I'm going to go meet with Jose for 5 minutes, the dude who gave her the car. Then Uribe met in the parking lot of a restaurant where Nadine got 15 grand in cash. The next day, Nadine purchased the car, $15,000 down payment, combination of cash, a credit card, and several checks. Also took out a loan for the remainder of the $60,000. A number of statements Nadine made on her application in order to secure the loan were false. After the purchase was complete, Nadine messaged the senator. She says, congratulations, mon amour de la vie. We are the proud owners of a 2019 Mercedes Heart. These two little lovebirds, man, they're having a good time at the expense of, their entire integrity. Later that day, after Uribe asked her, are you happy? Nadine said, I will never forget this, Uribe. I'm so happy. I've been driving all afternoon. She later texted the senator a photo of the convertible, which is down here below. Oh, thanks, baby. Parked in our driveway, right next to the beautiful trees in the background. See you when you get home. After initially providing cash to Nadine to purchase the car, Uribe subsequently caused the financing payments to be paid as well. She doesn't want to pay for that, the loan and all that stuff. That's a lot of money. So those were routed through one of his business associates and through another company he controlled, another shell company, to pay the benefits to Nadine. And you know what's so weird about this? They're also, they're charging Nadine, right, with all of these crimes. Hunter did stuff that was monstrously worse than this. And Hunter got a gun charge and a tax charge. All right, let's see what she gets. In order to make the initial payments, in May 2019, Uribe asked a business associate to pay out of his corporate account to make the payments. Associate 2 did not want to be associated with the payment. Good call for that guy. And Uribe and Associate 2 manually made each payment from various different accounts. We have another interference. July 2019, another New Jersey detective sought to interview a New Jersey subject in a criminal investigation related to the defendant. Following the interview request, they said Menendez should intervene again. So Uribe contacts Nadine, same story. Hey, we got another problem. There's this detective now poking around, right? It's never just one. You never just get one. The next morning, Uribe sent Nadine a series of texts saying that he did not anyone bothering the New Jersey investigative subject. This detective is asking this guy questions. I don't want anybody to interview him. We need to make things go away. We need to move fast. We can still stop this. Get it done now. That day, Nadine sent a message back to Uribe, said, first, I'm going to address it first thing tomorrow morning or tonight, depending on when the senator gets home. He'll be home first thing tomorrow. I will address it first thing tomorrow and have the phone calls go out. Later that day, Menendez, the senator, got on the internet, started to perform Google searches for the initials of the state agency employing the insurance fraud investigator who was seeking to interview the New Jersey subject. He's like, who is this guy? What is the WCTA, or whatever that is, right? The Wisconsin something, or the NJCPD, whatever that is. What it's NJIS, whatever, right? He types it in. A few days later, Nadine Menendez texted Uribe that Menendez had commented about the two requests, that it would have been so easy if we had wrapped both requests together. September 3rd, Uribe has now been making periodic payments on the car. He sends a text to Nadine. He says, hey, Nadine, I'm still paying your car, Please don't forget about me. I will never forget about you. I need peace. Then the next day, so this guy pings Nadine again. Nadine pings the senator. On the next day, Menendez calls official 2 to schedule a meeting at the office at the Senate's in Newark, New Jersey, senator's office. The day after that call, a bunch of people show up at Nadine's house. On September 6th, the senator met with another official at his New Jersey office to try to pressure that official to favorably resolve this inquiry. After the meeting, Menendez met with Uribe at Menendez's apartment. They texted another business associate whether it was a good meeting, and they said, well, nothing was final. It is very positive. Over the next several weeks, following the September 6th meeting, Uribe repeatedly texted Nadine. He says, I need updates. I need peace. This guy's freaking out. So on October 29th, the day after Uribe texted Nadine, he says, hey, I always text you on a Monday in case you have an update. I just need peace. Anything you can do to help? Menendez then called Uribe. So Uribe texts the girlfriend, the wife. Then Menendez, the senator, calls him back. Within minutes of getting off the phone, Uribe Uribe texts Nadine, writing, "I just got a call. I'm a very happy person. God bless you and him forever." Okay, so the senator calls and says, "I'm going to take care of this for you. Don't worry, okay? You've got the Senate on your side," whatever. Several nights later, Menendez, Nadine, and Uribe and associate number 3, they all meet for a celebratory dinner, and they toasted with a bottle of champagne, as depicted below. What a happy group of people. They just escaped probably criminal prosecution by law enforcement officials, and the senator, Democrat from New Jersey, is the guy that made it happen. Cheers to never-ending corruption. We always get what we want. And man, Nadine is just always smiling ear to ear in these photographs. She's just thrilled. She's like, man, what a crazy life this is. On or about November 5th, several days after the phone call, and after they celebrated with champagne, Uribe texted Nadine again. "All right, listen, I need more info so I can set up the automatic payments for your car." 2 minutes after saying he says, "I set up automatic payments," he texts her again. "I have so much peace. Gracias a Dios, and to you guys. Thank you to God and to you." So on or about November 9th, Uribe then sets up automatic payments for the car. Uribe caused a trucking company associated with him to make 32 monthly payments on the Mercedes. Years of payments. Together with payments that Uribe caused Associate 2 to make, more than $30,000 to be paid for the purchase of the car, not including to the cash that was also provided, right? And they got gold, they spent, they got cash, they spent. In June 2022, federal agents finally entered the game. They approached Rob Menendez and Nadine and Uribe, and they executed court-authorized search warrants on the Menendez's residence, among other places. No warnings for them. They didn't get the opportunity to clear out their storage lockers. After those approaches, Uribe stopped making payments on the Mercedes. He's like, oh crap. Later that year, Menendez wrote to Nadine a check for $23,000, and Nadine wrote Uribe a check for $21,000 with a memo line regarding a personal loan. See what's happening here? They're all backfilling the funds. They're going, oh crap, those weren't bribes. I forgot. Those were personal loans. Oh, we just forgot to memorialize it. Personal loan in the memo. Okay, so they're freaking out. Menendez then promises and seeks to disrupt a federal criminal prosecution in exchange for gold bars. When were they approached? Listen to this. Federal agents go and approach the senator, Robert Menendez, in June 2022. June 2022. Okay, so we're going backwards. Actually not. Here, I'm trying to see if he stopped his activities after the fact. I think he did. After that approach, they stopped. Okay, so from at least December 2020 all the way to early 2022, Menendez, the defendant, agreed to influence the pending federal prosecution of Fred Davies, another co-defendant, in exchange for cash. This is going to be a big one, they say. Not going to just need a car for this one. We need a lot more. By recommending that the president nominate a different U.S. attorney, okay? So the U.S. attorney for the District of New Jersey has to go. We have to substitute somebody else in that Menendez believed that he could control, that he could influence. You see how this works? So senators will try to finagle U.S. attorneys in that they can control to govern an investigation. Has that ever happened before in this country? Like theoretically, could that maybe have happened with, David Weiss being appointed in Delaware to finagle the Hunter Biden, Joe Biden crime family investigation? Like that? That type of influence, Senator? In December 2020, Menendez met with an individual who would later be nominated to be the U.S. attorney. At the time of the meeting, the candidate was an attorney in private practice, and he was just meeting with him to consider meeting with him. He's probably like, wow, this is a great opportunity. This is a senator. Oh my gosh. In that meeting, Menendez criticized the office for prosecuting Fred Davies. Okay, so he's like sitting down with this guy and he's like, hey, listen, if you want to be the U.S. attorney, I could probably make that happen. But just so you know, Fred Davies is the man, okay? Not a criminal at all. He said that he hoped the candidate would look into his case if he became the U.S. attorney. He did not mention any other cases in the meeting, so they interviewed this private lawyer. After the meeting, the candidate informed Menendez that he might have to recuse himself for the prosecution as a result of the matter he handled in private practice involving Davies. He said, I might not even be involved in it, so I can't help you on that case. And so Menendez says, guess what? Your name is not going to put forward on the recommendation. Sorry, you're not good enough. I need you for a specific task. So name is rejected. Menendez told the candidate that they would be recommending a different individual for the position. You can't do my bidding. Sorry, you got to go. Maybe like, this sounds like a good attorney, right? Like a good person. No, I can't. It could be a conflict of interest. This could be a problem. Whereas David Weiss, who used to work with Beau Biden, Hunter's brother, didn't recuse himself at all. Just just kept staying on the case, and they kept telling us it's because he's a Trump-appointed attorney, if you remember that. So instead of that candidate, the senator then recommended a different individual for the U.S. attorney. Now, Fred, the defendant, believed that the different individual would be sympathetic to him. And in the spring of 2021, a series of news reports critical of the other individual were published. Wow, so it's almost like, I think what they're implying is that the senator may have been trying to elevate one person and smash the other one down. The guy who would recuse himself got the bad stories published. Now, during that time period, in spring of 2021, an advisor, somebody, quote, an advisor associated with the senator, spoke to the candidate and discussed, among other things, the possibility of the candidate recusing from the prosecution of Fred Davies. The advisor informed Menendez that the advisor believed that the candidate would likely not have to recuse from the prosecution. And so on May 2nd, in connection with the Menendez potential and the recommendation of the candidate, the advisor texted the senator, "I think if you call the candidate, you'll be comfortable with what he says." October 17, 2021 comes around. Nadine and the Menendezes, they return from Egypt. They land at JFK International Airport. The driver for Fred Davies picks them up and drives them back home to New Jersey. So this person who's being prosecuted has a driver. They pick him up. The next day, the senator performs a web search. Look at this. He's super curious. How much is 1 kilo of gold worth? Says the dumb senator. Types that into Google. Should have typed in next, what are the elements for federal bribery? While he's at it. As discussed, multiple gold bars were provided by Davies and were found during the court-authorized search of the Menendez's residence. How do you identify how much gold is in this bar and how much is that worth? The senator recommended to the president that the candidate be nominated for the U.S. attorney position. And guess what? The candidate was nominated by the president, and the candidate was confirmed by the Senate, and the candidate was sworn in as the U.S. attorney in December 2021. Unbelievable. So who is this person? So New Jersey U.S. attorney is Philip Selinger, and this guy is the person who got installed by Senator Menendez. Philip Selinger, U.S. attorney for the District of New Jersey, updated March 1, 2023. Not saying there's anything problematic with this guy or anything, but probably had a certain position on the prosecution of Davies. Shortly after the swearing in, on the basis of information that Official 3 provided to the DOJ to determine whether a recusal was warranted, Official 3 was informed that Official 3 was recused from the prosecution. Wow. So they install this guy thinking that he's not going to be recusing himself, and then he is recused. And the U.S. Attorney's Office from New Jersey implemented the recusal. So that's a big problem for them. It says Nadine Menendez got a text. How is Robert's shoulder doing? She said, he's doing better. And we heard that the trial date was adjourned and that Menendez was, quote, fixated on it. Davies responded, good. I don't want him to be upset over it. This is not his fault. He was amazing in all he did. He's an amazing friend and he's as loyal as they come. How is his shoulder? Is he sleeping? Let me know if I can get him a recliner. It helped me sleep. Thereafter, Davies sent over a recliner to Menendez. In January 2022, Menendez called Official 3, the AG, asked the identity of the first assistant U.S. attorney who is Official 4. As a result of the U.S. attorney's recusal, the other U.S. attorney had responsibility over Davies. He says, okay, fine, you recused yourself. Who is your next in line? Menendez and Davies then in January called Davies' lawyer to complain. They said, you have not been aggressive enough. So they called a lawyer and they're screaming at the lawyer. The senator calls the lawyer. Oh gosh. On or about January 24th, Davies' driver exchanged 2 brief calls with Nadine. Nadine then texted Davies saying, thank you, Christmas in January, whatever that means. Davies' driver's fingerprints were later found on an envelope containing thousands of dollars of cash recovered from the Menendez residence. The envelope also bore Davies' DNA and was marked with Davies' return address. Foolish. In or about the early afternoon of January 24th, 2 hours after Nadine had texted Davies saying, thank you, Christmas in January for this cash, Menendez, the senator, calls Official 4, right? Because he now knows my girlfriend got paid. Call lasts 15 seconds for whatever reason. Didn't answer. First call to Official 4, several days after saying Christmas in January, several days after that, Menendez performed another search. Kilo of gold price. What's the kilo of gold price? Man. On or about January 31st, Menendez again called Official 4. This call lasted 1 minute and 24 seconds. Within minutes of his call, Menendez, the senator, dialed Davies again. Between a few months, the senator asked the advisor to ask Official 3, who was at the time the prosecuting attorney, who had recused himself, why he had recused himself. Menendez said, I thought you were not going to recuse yourself. The advisor said, I'm not going to ask him that. Okay. I'm not going to call him and ask him that. Sorry. Because he knows why he declined, why he recused himself. Later, and it's not going to do anything either anyways. Like the guy's not going to put himself back in charge. So he's just upset about it. Later, in or about March, and he wants to flex is what that's about, right? The senator is telling him to call the U.S. attorney and flex on him. Insane. Later, in or about late March 2022, the advisor informed Menendez that he was going to have lunch with that attorney. He told the advisor, I'm frustrated with the way his office handles Davies. Give Davies all due process. Notwithstanding that, he says, I know he's been recused, and so the advisor had lunch but did not pass on the message. In March 2022, Nadine meets for lunch with Davies. Following the lunch, Nadine texted Davies, "Thank you, Fred. Prayer hands, XO heart. Thanks for that." The next day, Nadine met with a jeweler who was friends with Davies and Will and texted Davies the fact that she's meeting the jeweler. At the meeting, Nadine provided the jeweler two 1 kilogram gold bars to be sold. At that time, 60 grand per kilo. Nadine falsely told the jeweler that the gold came from her mother. Court-authorized search of her phone later found a photograph taken the day of Nadine's meeting with the jeweler. Just 2 of 1 kilogram gold bars with serial numbers indicating they had previously been possessed by Davies. A portion of the photograph is attached below. We got 2 serial numbers stamped into the bottom of these things. Official 3 and Official 4 did not pass on to the prosecution that the senator tried to deviate this investigation. Fred ultimately in April pled guilty to a plea deal and got a probation sentence. This whole system, man. It worked. He got probation. He's not going to prison. He got probation. I don't know what happened. Something happened. Fast forward. Official 3 did not pass on to the team. Official 4 did not pass on to the team. Guy gets probation. Incredible. As noted above, in June 2022, a court-authorized search of the residence revealed, among other things, 2 1 kilogram gold bars, 9 1-ounce gold bars that had serial numbers indicating that they had been previously possessed by Fred Davies. The search also revealed that the residence contained, among other things, hundreds of thousands of dollars of cash, including approximately 10 envelopes of cash with tens of thousands of dollars bearing the fingerprints and DNA of Davies. Those other envelopes, in addition to fingerprints of Davies, also included the fingerprints of Menendez, the senator. At all times relevant to this indictment, the senator was, as a senator, required to file annual financial disclosure forms, including income. At all times relevant to this, Menendez did not disclose any receipts of those payments, the Mercedes-Benz convertible, or any cash or gold bars related to him. And so, accordingly, he has been charged with 1 count of conspiracy to commit bribery, the first count, saying everything that we just read through has been incorporated in this one, and all of these defendants from 2018 to 2020 knowingly combined and conspired to commit bribery of a federal employee in violation of the law. Part of the conspiracy that Senator Robert Menendez is known to be a public official and that he was known to have been influenced. Further part of this, that he was promised something of value in exchange for this. Many overt acts, including the meeting at the restaurant, including the payments from the corporate bank accounts, including the text messages from Nadine. They used a cell tower in Manhattan. They met at a restaurant in Manhattan. And, you know, a lot of this same stuff, by the way, do you see what they're calling here overt acts? Incredible. They met at a restaurant. That's an overt act in furtherance of a conspiracy. You know who else met at a restaurant? Hunter Biden, Joe Biden, business people from Burisma, business people from all over the place. That is an overt act. Literally proves our point. They also made payments from a corporate bank account to another corporate branch. Incredible. You know who else did that? The Bidens. Text messages about conspiracies, right, to do these things, all transmitted through cell towers. Certainly have that one. Met at restaurants. Got that one. Now, the gold bars provided to a jeweler. Don't think we've got that one, but we have Hunter Biden getting $83,000 a month from Burisma. We've got those transactions recorded. Those were the overt acts, okay? Those were the overt acts listed in 1 count. The idea that they couldn't bring charges similar to this to Joe is just nuts, just based here. This is the DOJ's own indictment. Count 2, conspiracy to commit honest services fraud. They say from 2018, all the same people involved devised a scheme to defraud the public. They tried to deprive the public of its intangible right to Robert Menendez's honest services as a U.S. Senator and chairman and ranking member of the Foreign Relations Committee. That's it. They deprived the public of our intangible right to Joe Biden's honest services as a vice president, right? Just replace that. And they could swap that in and put that in an indictment. It would, all of this was transmitted over writings and so on. And lastly, count 3, this one's only for Robert Menendez and Nadine, the Menendezes. They say from the same time, they knowingly combined, conspired to commit extortion under the color of official right as defined under the law. Now that's exactly right. And we would say that there is one extra degree of separation here between Joe and Hunter. And I would agree with this. I don't think, probably not going to see Joe Biden have gold bars in his properties. I don't know, because they warned them about all of their investigations. And so we don't know if they moved things or anything like that. But the point is, this is kind of like boneheaded. This is a senator with gold bars. Are you stupid? Hunter would at least keep the gold bars in his residence, not in Senator Biden's residence, right? You can't let your wife bring in your corrupt stuff. So this is all very foolish. But the point remains that there are many quid pro quos that you could point to in Joe Biden's history that would support a charge just like this. So forfeiture, they say that they've got to give up all these properties that they got illegally. Let's see what they want to take from them. Shall forfeit all property obtained from the commission of these offenses, including the following things. The residence in Englewood Cliffs, New Jersey, forfeited, gone. Mercedes-Benz, gone. Class C, C300, $486,000 in U.S. currency, forfeit. 80 grand from a safety deposit box, seized. 2 1-kilogram gold bars, 11 1-ounce gold bars, any and all funds held in this shell company called Strategic International Business Consultants, LLC. All that money's gone. And they say as a result of committing the offense, they also give up the Englewood Cliffs premises, the Mercedes-Benz, the funds. If we can't find anything, we're going to be looking for alternative property from you that we will seize. Signed here by Damian Williams, U.S. Attorney out of the Southern District of New York. And so that, my friends, is the 39-page indictment of Senator Robert Menendez for much the same conduct that Joe Biden and Hunter Biden were engaged in. Now, very curious timing on this one. Of course, we're going to continue to cover it, my friends. Thank you for subscribing, liking this video. Thank you for visiting robertgovea.com to check out our brand new website, and we'll look forward to seeing you on the next one.